Hello, everyone, and welcome to Game Center Live, the weekly live stream talk show straight from the NYU Game Center. We've got an incredible, jam-packed show for you today. First off, we'll be introducing a new segment, the Micro Game Jam. MFA students Moochi and Ty will be bookending this show, making a game over the duration of this stream based off of items they pull from a hat. While they're designing away, you'll meet Edikan Abia, who will be showcasing some absolutely mind-boggling Panel de Pon skills. Trust me, you will not want to miss this. Then you'll be introduced to the MFA team behind Ponch, a cyberspace investigation game. They'll be showing their game and chatting with their thesis instructor, Sharang. But first, we have some announcements. Playtest Thursday. Playtest Thursday is happening every Thursday from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. This is our casual weekly meetup where you can bring your work in progress games and get feedback. All games are welcome, digital, non-digital, VR, weird stuff, at all stages of development. Due to NYU's COVID event restrictions, we're only able to have current NYU students, faculty, and staff here in person, but we've got a remote playtest option available for folks to virtually attend. We'll set up a laptop with your game and set it up on the Playtest Thursday room, and you'll be able to chat with playtesters over Discord. More info on how to sign up at the link in chat. Press play. It's like a book club for video games. Saturdays from 1 to 3 p.m., head to the NYU Game Center Open Library to play and discuss a game from the library's incredible collection. This event is happening in person, and all current NYU students and faculty are welcome. No prior knowledge of the game is needed. You'll play the game at the meetup. This Saturday's game is the board game hit Skull. Strategy Guide. Next week, March 10th, 7 p.m. in the second floor lecture hall, we're hosting our annual Strategy Guide event on how to get a job in the game industry. Join us for a panel from designers, developers, and hiring managers with practical knowledge and advice on how to get a job. This event is happening in person for NYU students only for this year. More info to come. Now news on our next lecture series installment. We're going to have Jesper Juhl here at the Game Center. Thursday, March 24th at 7 p.m., second floor lecture hall. Jesper Juhl will be joining us for the March lecture series. Jesper Juhl is one of the most well-regarded names in game scholarship and has penned multiple essential books like Half Real, A Casual Revolution, and The Art of Failure. Jesper is also a former NYU Game Center professor. He now works at the Royal Danish Academy of Fine Arts. In person for NYU students, with RSVP link coming soon. We are hiring. Yes, we are hiring for 2 important positions on our administrative team. Come join me, the incredible Logan Clare. Thank you, Gwenna, for writing that into my announcement text. And the entire great team here at the Game Center. We're hiring a program administrator who will be our incubator director, as well as the department's liaison with the game industry at large. apply at the link in chat. We're also hiring a budget and grants administrator who, as the name suggests, will oversee the NYU Game Center's departmental budget, as well as manage our current grants and seek out additional grants and fundraising for the department. Link in chat as well for those. Finally, school news. The library where we are sitting currently is open for business. We're open to all current NYU students, not just Game Center students, and you can come check out and play our 3,000 plus games. We're open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday, 12 to 8 p.m. Finally, card access. We're aware there's been recent card access issues on the floor. We're working to resolve them, but if you have any issues, feel free to Slack Gwynna. All right, without further ado, I believe it's time to introduce our new segment. Please welcome to the stream, Moochi and Ty. Y'all can come on in. Okay, here's how this is gonna work. Here's how this is gonna work. We got a new segment. Moochi and Ty are gonna pull 3 slips of paper from a hat. Gwynna, if you could present them with the fedora of possibilities. Three. These slips of paper will have items from our prototype cart written on them, such as chess pawns, dice, and toy soldiers. With these 3 random pieces, Moochi and Ty will then have approximately 40 minutes to make a tiny game. Let's see what they've drawn. Did you draw? Okay, we have timers.
That's good. Video games. Dominoes. Nice.
We have dominoes.
I have previous experience.
This one's pretty good. I got hats.
And hats. Okay.
Oh, wow. Thematic.
Okay. So you guys could go ahead and right behind you on the other side of this glass, the prototype cards are back there. You can go ahead and start making your game. Feel free to use any of the stuff that's on the craft cart. So that's like scissors, graph paper, index cards, all that good stuff. Just go crazy with it and have fun. And we'll call you back in at the end of the stream. Thank you so much for joining. And we'll see you all in approximately 40 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. And now please welcome to the stream, Charles Pratt and Edikan Abia for some pro Panel de Pon.
All right. Thank you, Logan, and thank you for coming down here, Deacon. I want to start before we dive into the game, which is a fascinating game that I feel like more people should know about. I want to talk a little bit about you. So, where do you come from, and how did you find your way to the Game Center?
I'm from South Florida. I'm from Broward County. And actually, so I think when the Game Center first started, that was like 2015. That was my brother's graduating year. I have 2 older brothers, but one of them, for all intents and purposes, he's the one who does all the talking. So Dale found out that NYU had a Game Center program in their TIS school, and I was like, that sounds awesome. I just like looked into it. I just spent a lot of time like looking at the program, and I was like, wow, I really want to go to this program. So I had this in the back of my mind for my entire high school career. And I was kind of sitting there because like a bunch of art schools, like a bunch of like liberal arts schools with strong art programs were like, we don't really like your portfolio. And I was just like, I'm not gonna get fucking NYU. But I submitted my portfolio, which was like an EP of like a bunch of music that I wrote for Thanksgiving. And well, I mean, I'm here, so.
Awesome. Yeah. So you're primarily think of yourself as an artist and a musician? Is that fair?
A visual artist and a musician.
Cool. Well, I want to talk more about that at the end, but let's dive into the game. We're talking about Panel de Pon. What is Panel de Pon? For people who haven't played the game, can you explain a little bit how it works?
Okay, so Panel de Pon is a versus puzzler. I mean, there's like other modes, but for all intents and purposes, it's a versus puzzler. And a lot of people compare it to Tetris, but you probably shouldn't do that.
I believe it's called Tetris Attack is one of the names it's known by in the US?
It's actually kind of funny because when Nintendo America was localizing Panel de Pon, they were like, oh, these fairies aren't going to sell in the United States, so we have to make it something cool, like Yoshi. And then they took the name Tetris because Tetris was super popular. But then the Tetris company saw what they did with the name, and they're like, this isn't Tetris. And they didn't let Nintendo use the Tetris name after that.
Oh,
for
interesting.
this game, so they can't re-release the localized version.
Oh, interesting. All right, so let's. Why don't you start playing?
All right.
And walk us through a little bit how the mechanics work, and maybe even like give a little bit of insight into how you're approaching the game.
Okay, so that's my name. So
maybe start on easy, so you can kind of talk and.
I can actually talk and play.
Yeah.
So basically, what's going to happen is you have to match 3 panels in order to pop them.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Bejeweled, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing is that there are these empty spaces that you can swap things into,
Mm-hmm.
and when you swap things, you can also drop them into the columns below. So
I see. So this looks like it's very much like Bejeweled. So if you're familiar with Bejeweled, it's about swapping things rather than like Tetris is about dropping things from the top. This is about swapping things that are already there. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And so you get more pieces from the bottom, and then you can raise the stack.
So you
Make
can
it move
purposefully make the stack get higher.
Yes.
Interesting.
So essentially what you want to do are these things called chains where while like one set of pieces is popping,
Mm-hmm.
you move the other pieces to make it so that the others, they also pop.
They fall into a set.
Yeah.
I see. So you're like, you get a set of 3, they clear, and then the blocks that fall make immediately another set of 3.
And so like generally you're not going to get a lot of just like pure luck chains.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the game like refers to them as like when you make it happen yourself. They're called skill chains to make you feel good because you're playing a game. It's kind of tough. And there's like generally what I do is I kind of have like this pattern thing going on. I don't know. When I got into it, I just kind of like, I didn't get it for a long while. And then I was like, how are other people making their chains? I swear I watched like one video and I was like, oh, it makes sense to me. But all of my friends are like, I don't get it.
Interesting. So it just disappeared, but maybe we could start another round. What are the blocks that fall on your opponent? They're like these big faces. They have faces on them. Well, what are those?
So they have the faces of the character that you're playing as, actually.
Okay.
Those are your garbage blocks. And essentially, when you send a chain, or if you clear 4 or more panels at the same time, it'll send garbage over.
I see.
And the goal is to, send enough garbage to bury your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about this game is that the garbage is kind of interesting because, like, if I can get her to, like, beat me up, you can actually use this garbage to your advantage. So, oh my God, this is so slow.
So I think I saw this earlier that like when you were playing before the show started, like when they would send a big garbage block onto you, you would have a match ready to hit it, right under it, a match that would connect with that block, and then it would clear, like a line would clear.
It would clear, and then it would turn into like other panels for you to use.
Right, and then does that send like more garbage at your opponent? Okay, cool. Well, why don't we exit this and like we'll watch you play a high level AI. So this is very hard.
This is very hard. It's the hardest difficulty.
Okay.
I've been struggling to beat it in 1 credit, but I just beat the shit out of this.
So
dragon.
I'll try not to be too distracting, but I might ask you a couple of questions while you're playing.
That's all right.
So is this like a story mode? Do you have like a story mode you're playing?
Yeah,
through?
there is a story mode. This is the GameCube version of the game. It's a sequel to the Super Famicom original. It's got like a little bit more of a story, and all the characters have been redesigned.
Oh, cool.
It's still a very bare bones game, but it's just got a much nicer presentation. It's very cute. So she's going over to this jester's house. And
Jester lives next to a very ominous castle.
They're a very ominous castle. He's one of the bad guys. He just shows up, and it's like all like ripply.
For time constraints, we might want to skip into the game if we
okay.
can. All right, so these are different characters. Do the different characters have different powers, or are they just cosmetic?
No, but if you lose, these characters do not get into the credits.
Interesting. I see. So you're trying to get everyone through alive.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Well, let's test my skills, okay? Let's test our luck. Let's see if we can keep her up. So he's going to move at superhuman speeds because, of course, he is.
Right.
And so I'm going to try to get the sound is much nicer, and also it's a better presenting game, but it's also like much cleaner in terms of its timing and much more consistent. There are like things about the SNES version that are a little wonky, but most people actually play on the SNES version because I think it's just like the most well-known.
A little more accessible.
Yeah.
Interesting. So if we had students that were gonna, or anyone who's watching the stream, if they were gonna get into this game, are there any techniques that you would recommend? Tricks that you've picked up that a beginner might be able to use in order to advance a little faster?
Yeah, I started off with just making 2 chains, just focusing on making 2 chains, and I would pre-set up the chain before I popped it. So I would have okay, make sure this one is on top and these 2 are on the bottom before I get rid of this row of colors. And then I just kept extending those chains. This is very Puyo language, but it's just because you're only popping 3 at a time, there aren't and you're not making these really weird shapes like you can in Puyo. There aren't a lot of patterns that you have to recognize and be familiar with, and you also kind of don't have to worry about looking at your opponent's board.
Right. Interesting. Any other tips?
What does one of the characters, Lip in the original game says, more haste means less speed. Which means don't just randomly flip things around just because you can, or drop things because you think you can. You do have to think about where you're putting your pieces. Think about where you're putting your pieces though before you raise the stack.
Okay.
Because when you reach the top of the board, you do have a tiny bit of time before you top out.
Interesting.
But it's only a tiny bit.
Interesting. So then take your time. It feels like a fast game, but if you take your time, you'll end up doing well in the long run. Cool. So actually, you brought up Puyo Puyo. Are you someone who feels like you're a bit of a puzzle game aficionado? Do you play a lot of puzzle games? Is that a kind of genre that you're attracted to?
Yeah, kind of. I didn't start off super robust into puzzle games, but I've been playing Puyo Puyo with a bunch of friends. It's been super fun. I have my feelings about Tetris.
Fair.
And I also Dr. Mario is also really accessible to me. But when it comes to other puzzle games, I'm still a little bit of a noob. So I would say that I have some things to learn. I probably wouldn't call myself a professional yet.
Sure. So you're a Game Center student,
yes,
right? Which means you've taken classes like game design, intro to game dev, that sort of thing. Has your relationship to these games changed as you've become more of a game developer?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most popular puzzle game that's been floating around lately that versus puzzlers have been enjoying has definitely been Puyo Puyo Tetris. And I found out about it at the start of my Game Center career, I suppose, and just kind of picking it apart as to why it doesn't work.
Oh, interesting.
As Puyo versus Tetris has always been just at this point it's very old ground, but there's always new things to learn from it, and balancing 2 different puzzle games if you wanted to have different combative elements. And the thing that they say is the 2 games are different because of their garbage, which isn't something that I would have intuited at the beginning, but you can definitely see it how it plays out in real matches.
Have your feelings about Panel de Pon changed at all? Has your approach to it, as now that you're more of a game developer yourself?
Yeah. I mean, I have my criticisms of it. It's probably I do kind of see Puyo Puyo as definitely the more interactive, more competitive game. There's but I also feel Panel de Pon has a bit more complexity and depth than Tetris does, mainly because of the management thing that's happening, and that there's kind of a rhythm and a time to it that you do have to get the hang of in order to be able to be effective, be an effective player.
Very cool. I'm not sure how much time do we have left. About 8 minutes. So then I want to talk a little bit about the Game Center. So you are currently in Major Studio with me as one of your instructors, Clara Fernandez Vara and myself. I want to talk a little bit about what has been your experience in that class in Major Studio, because I know we have a lot of freshmen and a lot of sophomores that stress a lot about becoming a junior, starting some of these bigger classes. Do you have any thoughts you want to share with them or advice?
Yeah, I'm horrible at submitting assignments on time. However, when I submitted assignments, one thing I have a moment of clarity about before I go right back to catastrophizing is that it's not as difficult as you think it is. And the things that you're making aren't as stupid and bad as you think they are. You know, one of my assignments was literally just like, it wasn't even like a game. It was like a little toy that you would run, and it was just this tiny little, a joke would play, and then like it would internally decide whether or not the joke was good or not, and if the joke was bad, like the person telling the joke would get tomatoed, and it would end, you know. And you can like make really silly, really goofy small things like that in Major Studio Fall, and then in Major Studio Spring you get the opportunity to really sit down and focus on one project and like take things from it and expand on it in a way that can be like really like revealing and enriching in exploring that game's depth. And you're also like working on other people's projects. It's pretty cool.
Cool. So you're passionate about puzzle games. You're also, going to be starting your capstone, your final year here next year. Is a puzzle game something that you're turning over in your head for a possible capstone project? Are you interested in being a puzzle game designer, or are puzzle games a kind of genre you love, but you probably don't think you would want to work on them?
I mean, I'm considering it. It's just that I'm not sure because I came into this school being an avid fan of JRPGs, but I was also a woman, so it's very difficult to like JRPGs when they're so like blatantly misogynistic.
Yes, yeah.
But I like, I've always been a narrative person, just in general, in terms of telling stories with my art and my music, and so on and so forth. But I mean, I think a puzzle game does have a lot of potential. I'm not sure how, but Puyo Puyo inspires me. Panel de Pon inspires me.
Awesome. Do you have any recommendations then for non-puzzle games for our viewers? Anything? Because you seem to have an interesting depth of knowledge about the different genres that you're interested in. Are there JRPGs that you think people should check out?
You should play Chrono Trigger.
We should play Chrono Trigger? You've never heard of Chrono Trigger. It's a little game by a company called Squaresoft. Doesn't exist anymore. So I think the last thing I want to talk about is that you are also a content creator yourself. We're here on the internet. You also make things for the internet. Do you want to talk a little bit about your YouTube channel?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mainly post the music that I write there. I post very infrequently, but I try to post, you know.
Don't we all? We're all trying to post. We're all doing our best.
And then I also have this other side series that is a mistake. People think it's really funny. But I'm still it's still a little, it's a work in progress. But it's also the only thing that I work on consistently that's like serialized and finished.
Oh,
it's
cool.
like it's a comic series, and it was a choice. So
Edikan, what are the names of these channels so that people can actually go and see your work?
So here's the thing, is that there are a million channels named Dusty, capital D-U-S-T-Y. However, I'm the only one with a tiny little Kirby wearing a Link hat on a Warp Star on a green background.
Sounds like you'll need to provide us with some links that we can pass on to our viewers, because
links,
I'm not sure that was enough of a breadcrumb trail to get them where we want them to go. What is it like creating and putting your stuff out into the world? It actually, it's something that I think not many of our students have experience with, is like actually making stuff and showing it to people. But you're doing that. You're putting your stuff out on the internet.
So it kind of depends on what you're making, because I make two different types of content. I make art and I make music. And generally I make music for me because I know what my tastes are. But that comic series that's called The Dustyverse is a little difficult. Like, I feel some type of way toward it because I originally made it to make my friends laugh. And so I do feel like I kind of have an obligation to write something that's not just fully self-indulgent. However, there are some, you can pluck the beautiful, most juiciest, most fuzziest peach, and there will still be someone out there who does not like peaches. So it's just a matter of like, you have your taste and you can give and take with an audience, and but at the end, you do kind of have to stick to your guns. Like, what you like is what you like. And it's just a matter of, like, how much, you're going to... Sorry. It's a matter of how much you're going to commit to that and, like, how much you actually, like, care about, like, other people's. And this is I feel like the best content creators always keep, like, a healthy balance of, like, both. But they mainly prioritize, their taste.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you so much. I think we'll end it there. It's a good bit of advice of trust your own taste, have interesting taste. You're someone who has really fascinating taste, and I hope you'll come back on the show at some point and share another cool, weird game that you're very, very good at. It's always fascinating to watch someone play a game at a very high level that you're not familiar with. So, thanks so much, Edikan.
Thank you.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Edikan and Charles, for that showcase. Next up, please welcome the MFA team behind Ponch, a cyberspace investigation game, interviewed by their thesis instructor, Sharang. Please come to the stream. You can enter from around the side. It's a pretty crowded library here. Oh, yeah. You can grab your laptop. Bear with us here while we set up for Team Ponch. All right. Welcome to the stream, Team Ponch. If you want to introduce yourselves, I suppose starting from the right, and you should slide in a little bit.
Sure.
You're okay, now you're on stream.
Great.
Okay, perfect.
So I'm Sharang Biswas. I'm a game designer, and this semester I'm one of the thesis instructors for the MFA thesis at the Game Center, at the NYU Game Center, at the Tisch School of the Arts at NYU.
Hi, I'm Jude. I'm a second-year MFA student at the NYU Game Center, also a game designer.
Hi, I'm Jay. I'm also a second-year MFA. I'm the narrative designer and writer on Ponch.
I'm Caitlin, and I'm the lead programmer on Ponch, and I'm also a second year.
Yay, so this is really exciting. Can we start off, because our viewers might not know that much about Ponch, even though you've been doing a good job of social media-ing and told us not to follow your accounts last week. Can you tell everyone a little bit about Ponch?
So I forgot to mention I'm the director on the game. I kind of came up with the idea a really long time ago, and it was just something that was sidelined. And then when I came to the Game Center, I met these two, and they totally breathed new life into the idea. And basically, we try to say it's a 2.5D lesbian cyber noir game. Yeah, we have to put the lesbian in there. It's very important.
Great for marketing.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And the game is essentially you play as Ponch, and you live in this cyber dystopia, and she is an investigator, and you play as Ponch, and you kind of explore this strange city and all of the people that live within it.
Awesome. So I think one of the insights that we in this program at the Game Center can offer is process. So I'm really interested in, can you folks tell us a little bit about maybe some of the most challenging moments of this process? You've been doing this for 1.5 semesters right now, and some of the more rewarding moments of this process. I think we want to show people that making games is great, but you might have to work at it a bit. So can you share some of those with us?
Yeah, totally. Do you want to?
I can speak a little to the most rewarding process. I think once we got our office space last semester, we were able to sort of have this designated area where we could speak in confidence about the game. We can get really excited. We got a whiteboard in there. We all got our own desks and everything. And so it was just very easy to maintain a nice workflow throughout the whole thing. And so, yeah, I would say, especially leading up to milestones and big deadlines for our projects, using that space and being able to talk to one another in confidence and be excited about the game and in a space designated to Ponch, I feel like that's been probably the most rewarding experience, and that's where we'll be right after this interview. So.
I love that. So this idea of collaborating together has been really fun for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I think is cool for the narrative designer, right? Because narrative designers have to have their fingers in every part of the process, I think. So that's cool. What about the others?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have to say that I think that the challenging parts and the rewarding parts often through every single step of making this game so far have really gone hand in hand. When I first came to the Game Center, I basically had this idea, and it was not very clear. It was very experimental. And then Jay joined the team first, and then Katie joined the team. And with each of them, they sort of brought in their really important perspectives and helped kind of chisel the game down and organize it. So basically, it started with something that was very broad, and now it feels a lot more specific.
Would you say that was one of your challenges, cutting down this big idea you had to begin with?
Absolutely. I think that what I had was sort of this world and a character that you could walk around with, but no mechanics. So it started really as more of an artistic vision with the story, but I'm not. I've definitely, organization is not my top thing often, and then having Jay come in as a narrative designer, he took my ideas and then totally transformed them and put his own spin on them and put his own voice into the game as well. And then Katie coming in also and really, really coming in on the core loop of the game and the game design aspects. But I mean, getting there was definitely, it took a lot of time and a lot of iterating. But we feel very strongly that we're there now.
Nice. And Katie, as a programmer, as a lead programmer, since all of you know a little bit of that, what was rewarding or challenging for you from the technical end?
So I came in halfway through last semester, so I was half a semester late, and I think which actually worked out because there wasn't a lot of mechanics done at the time. It was a lot of the narrative and the lore. They were basically here's the lore of the game and let's finish making it. I think for a challenge for me was playing the catch up and then taking all of the amazing ideas we talk about and taking those ideas and making them into refined mechanics, and then on top of that making it easy for them to implement those. An example is we have a dialogue system and we want to do specific things, but I could go in and make messy code that's easy for me to understand because I wrote it, and I could jump into the actual code and change things, but that's not good for them.
Right.
So then it's it's really fun to think okay, how do I make this something that somebody who doesn't program can easily edit and prototype and test upon. And so that's been my favorite. I think it's a fun puzzle almost, not a challenge, but
right. No, that's a great point you brought up. It brings us back to the idea of teamwork, right? Where you can't work in isolation. You have to make things that the rest of the team can interact with, so that you can work together and improve on the project together. So I think that's really cool. Something you brought up, Jude, was this. You use the word artist a lot, right? And we talk at the Game Center a lot about game designers as artists. And when I think of artist, I think of a it's a combination of like learning art to be an artist. I think of a combination of learning specific skills to that craft, such as the programming or the game design. But I also think of external influences, right? You said you came up with this idea a while ago. Lesbian and noir are interesting topics that are not only game focused, right? So can you maybe speak a little bit about either external knowledge that you three have brought in, or specific skills you picked at the Game Center that have gone into this game? Obviously, that's more than just, I learned to code in a basic sense, right? So.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the primary inspiration for the game was just looking at a lot of things, watching a lot of like noir movies, seeing a lot of things I found very, just a large swath of things I found really exciting and inspirational, but I was always so frustrated with the plot line and with the characters. And while I found something that was like visually very interesting, I struggled to genuinely connect with it on a personal level. And I think there are actually quite a lot of lesbian noir films out there. I'm trying to remember. Bound is a really good one, and Bound had an ending that I really enjoyed. So I kind of consider that to be like a little piece of inspiration for that.
Nice.
But
recommendation, everyone, watch Bound.
Oh yeah, please, it's great. And also, I think that at the Game Center specifically, I learned the importance of prototyping, and I learned the importance of testing. Like really, really, they were hitting it home. So it's sort of funny. I think one day maybe I'll post the original iteration of the visuals of this game, but they were quite terrible.
Love it.
And
love
I mean,
it.
but that's, you can't get to any end product without the steps along the way.
Right, you're not gonna create Notre Dame de Paris at the first step, right? Oh, maybe you can, but most of us can't. Nice. What about the others?
Sure. I guess I can speak a little bit to, of course, like the narrative side of things. And just to quickly shout you out, Jude, because you shouted us out earlier, but you didn't really talk too much about yourself. Sure, like we started off like with a very large scope, and sure, there was a lot to cut down, but even in that, there was so much world building and artwork and ideas that you had already figured out on your own. So it was very easy to sort of come in and be excited about what we were working with in the first place. But yeah, just I guess to a narrative perspective, when it comes to dialogue specifically, we focused a lot on brevity and succinctness. A lot of people know gamers don't really like to read, so we wanted to make sure that the narrative was still digestible, but it didn't. The dialogue and the words themselves didn't drag on for too long, that people just wanted to click through everything. So in a lot of ways, we wanted the game to have like physicality and punchiness to the language itself, which is of course very important when we're considering that this is a game for lesbians of colors. We want them to have that agency, that nuance to their voices and whatnot. And we want them to feel strong and emboldened as well. So most of the writing, well, all of the writing really, is just sort of trying to make sure that the voices and the world itself matches up with Jude's original vision. And I think just as a crew, because I think in a way we're all narrative designers on the project, right? I think as a crew we've been doing really well at that. So
Nice. And Katie, any external things you brought in, or any cool things you learned in the Game Center that you applied?
I think like one of the biggest like learning experiences at the Game Center has just been working on teams, which like
It's very challenging.
Yeah. A lot of my undergrad was like solo work. So then like coming here, you work with like a million different teams. Like it's almost like I've worked with almost everyone in my cohort at some point on a team. And so like the first year is basically just team training and how to work on a team. And then it's like thesis, I couldn't be more like lucky to like work on the team I have. And like it's amazing like how something so like big and like it feels like ominous almost, but then it's like it's so easy to digest when you have two other like teammates working beside you, and like how we organize our meetings and like how we like scoping down, that's a tip, always scope down. And just like it's amazing to be on a team that you feel like happy about seeing every time you have a meeting.
Nice. And I think I'm going to say it is obviously a little bit of luck, but also the work you're putting in, for example, to make the code digestible by the others contributes to that, I am sure. Excuse me. So that's really good. You talk about this idea of prototyping and stuff a lot, and I think one of the things that newer game designers do less of is test their games. I've noticed this among a lot of students. They're like, "Oh, we have this thing and it's done," and we're like, "How many times have you tested that?" So I'm really curious to hear. I mean, okay, I know a little bit, so I'm lying when I say I'm entirely curious because I've heard this before. But I'm sure the audience is very curious to hear about your testing process, especially because I know that you did some paper prototypes of this very digital game. As all of you can see, it's clearly a digital game. So I'd love to hear a bit more about the testing process and the kinds of things you learned from it that you ended up implementing.
Yeah, definitely. So, admittedly, when we were first working in thesis and such, and we had this idea that we wanted to get out, we didn't actually start with testing a whole lot, even though we really wanted to. One of our primary goals from the beginning was that we really want to continue to test this game, specifically with lesbians of color, to see if does the narrative resonate with them, do the characters resonate with them, because a lot of people, you know, like they write something out there and they feel that it works for them, and while that's important, it's important to have that vision and to move forward in that conviction. We still really, this game is for people. It's always been for other people. So we have just started that process. It took us a while to kind of get like a big chunk of the narrative together that was digestible and play testable. But in terms of paper prototyping, we actually did paper prototypes for a few puzzles that we had in the game.
Nice.
And we also did some they were paper prototypes, they were narrative prototypes, where we did a dramatic reading of the script with some of our classmates. And that was actually a really, really great exercise. And we think that we're hoping that, you know, we can go out into other communities and bring our script with us to do that with other groups of people.
I think that's a really clever way of doing that. Like, you have a narrative, well, we should test the narrative too. And one way to test it is a dramatic reading. I think that's a really clever way that I feel some newer game designers forget that narratives need to be tested in specific ways. So that's really cool. And I know we only have a few minutes left, but I'd love to hear this, because this is very clearly, and you've said this many times, a game for lesbians of color. I mean, for everyone, but targeting or reaching out to lesbians of color. Can you talk about that a bit more, like the intersections of like gender and sexuality and race that's clearly gone into the narrative and the game design? That's a weird way of separating them into the design of the game as a whole.
Yeah, definitely. So again, sort of having watched and played a lot of things and finding them really interesting, and then having this barrier between not feeling totally able to connect with the characters or the world in some way. When I first had this idea, I really wanted to center lesbians of color, not just because they're lesbians of color, but specifically them as people. How do different aspects of their identity come together in this very specific world, in this specific time and place? But also, and I don't want to bag on any narratives out there that try to address, the things that lesbians of color go through the violence that they experience or through the struggles that they deal with. But I really wanted to make a story that focused on their empowerment. And even though they're struggling, even though they're resisting, I didn't want a game that showed people being violent to lesbians or have that be the primary sort of conflict. I thought it was important that, they have their problems, they have their identities, but they're ultimately powerful and resourceful.
Yeah, I think it's important to have a mix of stories out there, right? To have we are depicting struggles because they're real, but we're also depicting empowerment because that's what we want as society. I think that's really great. What about you both, especially in the narrative sense?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I spoke a little bit to it before, but like I said, most of the writing really is through Jude's voice, and it's been sort of a learning process for me. As a cis male, but I will say that I'm definitely been doing the research. I've been working alongside Jude very closely. Usually when we do the narrative, we have a pass system. So I'll write it, and then I might do any like grammatical errors and whatnot, and then Jude will always get the last say on what the narrative and the dialogue and the voices feel and look like. And so I think that's just been a wonderful learning process for me, at least along the lines of revision, and really trying to make sure that we create really genuine voices, really genuine portrayals for these characters. And I think Jude said it perfectly about empowerment. We want these characters to feel strong, we want these characters to feel real. We want these characters ultimately to just be powerful and not just caricatures, right?
Yeah. Do you want to add anything else?
I feel like they both did a good job.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And that's a really great way to end, because I think that spoke again to this idea of working together as a team. And I mean, game design is challenging, and it's extra challenging solo. So it's really cool to hear that you folks have been working together, team, leveraging your skills, making your parts easier for each other to work on. So good stuff. And I think all our viewers and all the faculty are excited about Ponch. So. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Team Ponch. That is Jude, Jay, and Caitlin. Thank you so much for coming onto the stream and showing off your game. And thank you, Sharang, for that incredible conversation. That was so much fun. And I would be remiss to mention how cool your winter showcase setup was. This team had like a trail of like candy leading to this room. Maybe it wasn't a trail of candy, it was more so the music. You had music blasting through the hallways, and everybody on stream was complimenting the music as well. They loved it and we loved it, and it drew so many people into that room, and it was such a fun time. So thank you again for coming and showcasing your game. All right, Gwenna is now bringing in the game designers for the micro game jam. Y'all can leave at your egress at your own pace. Thank you for coming on the stream. So while we wait for the micro game jam team to come back on stream, let's remember, what did they have to design their game? They had, I believe it was dominoes. Maybe I got that wrong. A timer and hats. And I think I see them. We see them in the background gathering their stuff. Here, I'll keep this camera on for now. All right, they're coming back in. Yep. Welcome back to the stream, Ty and Moochi. It is time to hear about your micro game jam. Whenever you're ready, take it away.
Okay, so who's we need 2 players. Do you want to play or should I play? Who's gonna play?
Yeah, well, call them. Jude. Okay, yeah. So we wrote down our game's called 20 to 25 Easy Pieces. It's a ritualized domino M-up about craft and apprenticeship. The way the game works is that there's going to be one player that is the crafter, and the crafter has a crown. And the apprentice, which will be Jude, has the birthday hat. Yeah, that's fine. And it's a game about matching time and building. So the crafter will build a 4x5 grid of dominoes in a set time, set by the timer. And then the apprentice has to try building the same 4x5 set of dominoes in the same time. So it's not about going fast, it's about both of you taking the exact same time to build the same thing. So as the apprentice, you have a notepad with a pen, and you can take notes of whatever happens to make sure you will follow the time correctly. And as the craftsman, the craft person, you flip a timer to count how long it took to build your domino grid. Okay. And then you hide the timer so you don't know how long you're taking. Okay.
And I'm supposed to recreate it in the same amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So ideally, you'll pull the hat, and you'll see the last grain of sand fall, and you'll score a point. And then you just keep trading back and forth to get as many points as you possibly can in a sequence. And if you happen to miss, then you just start again from 0.
Okay, so when you take the hat off, that's how you know how long it took to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like as soon as Gwenna finishes making the grid, you will take the hat off the timer, flip it over to stop it, and then you swap places.
Got it.
Okay, yeah. So you can start by flip this timer, yeah. And then we'll hide it.
And then I'm just making like a...
You're making like standing up.
Yeah. You might want to do it closer to you. It's
Like this?
you'll see. Yeah, you can do that. Sure. Interesting.
Are you trying to get the same like dominoes, like numbers, or just the same shape?
Just the same
The
amount
same
of time.
amount
to
of
construct
time.
Either 25 dominoes or 20 dominoes.
Oh, I see.
So you're teaching Jude how
Interesting.
the craft work of dominoes work is. So there's no mistakes. It's craftsmanship.
Doing a lot, yeah. I think this is gonna be really beautiful.
So I'm gonna pretend I'm taking notes as a good game designer. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, perfect.
Oh, okay.
So now you swap places.
Okay.
You can leave your
My crown.
craft crown
Yeah.
here,
That is quite beautiful.
and you can take your notes to,
You'll probably
to
want the
help you.
notes,
You,
yeah.
you want your notes, yeah.
That's a
Yes, now you'll be the note taker for
Alright.
for Jude's
And now you're doing the
construction.
same thing. Now you want to flip both timers. This is the timer you're trying to match, and this is the timer for the next round.
Okay, got it. And do I...
Yeah, you can set it down over.
Yeah, you are the regent now, so you can destroy the pile in whatever way you see
So
fit.
do I recreate that one, or do I make a new one?
You just need to match the time, so you can do that in whatever way makes sense to you.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
Yeah, so whenever you're ready, flip both timers.
Flip.
And then cover them.
I'll help you with this
And
one.
then I
Yeah,
cover it?
it cover it. Yeah.
Sometimes it's helpful to have a referee or assistant,
Okay. Alright.
just like a real domino shop.
Yeah, and you're trying to match this time.
I see. It's a very meditative sort of game. Part of me wants to knock some things down to feel like I had a similar process to Gwen.
Yeah.
It's like I want to recreate loss, but I. You said it had to be a grid, right?
No, whatever you want. Whatever you want.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Then just pull the
Alright, and
hats.
then
Yeah.
just-
Yeah, pull them up and see how it's this one too. This is them. Oh, you took too long.
Oh,
Yeah, a little
sad.
too long.
It was so close.
So you didn't
Yeah.
score a point, but now you just swap roles.
You just
and
swap
try
roles
again.
and keep doing, yeah. So you can now try recreating Jude's.
Okay, yes, that's probably the last
I'm trying
round.
to fill the tower in the exact time.
That's that time now.
That-
Yeah.
Oh, this is
That's why we have two
It's a good
times.
game loop.
Yeah.
Oh, so that has to be a-
Oh, yes.
And we'll put the we'll create the archive of notes over here.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, you can keep your, yeah.
Alright, so I flip this up now?
Yeah, flip both your with the
Oh.
non-black side up
Well,
now.
but you should probably remember to switch hats first.
Oh yes, that's an
Yeah.
important part. Yeah.
Very, very important. Oh my gosh, breaking the rules.
Okay. I'm want the non-black side up?
Yeah, no, non-black side up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, you can flip it. And this one.
Yeah, finessing the affordances of those timers is maybe one thing that we could work out if we keep working on this game.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh.
that was too early, though.
Too fast.
Way
yeah.
too fast.
Maybe there's time for one more round, though. Oh, wait, flip this one. Flip
Oh,
this
yeah.
one. Okay.
That takes longer than I would have thought. Wow.
All right.
I'm like,
2 minutes go.
Okay, 2 minutes. Are you ready?
Okay. So
Final round.
Final round.
final round. Okay, so are we?
Oh, yeah, that can keep running. That can keep running because that, yeah, it's a final round. It
Okay,
doesn't
final
matter.
round, got it.
Okay, so now we
So now
swap
we're
again, yeah.
Got
Yeah.
it.
okay, I think this is a very cool
Oh.
use of the timers.
You might want your
Yeah,
notes.
yeah.
Might want your notes. Don't forget those.
Yeah, very, very important. Okay. Oh, this is still going.
Yeah, that is just, that will be for the next round. But we're not doing the next round, so only this one.
So just that. So then.
Yeah, only this one.
So this one goes
Yeah.
black side up.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I'm supposed to match.
This one. You're supposed to match this one. That one is it's lost.
So ideally, you'll flip this, put it under the hat, and then next time you'll see just one grain of sand
I see. Okay, so this way.
Yeah.
coming,
Got it,
yeah,
okay.
falling down. Oh,
That was too early again.
Okay. Speed round. Speed round.
Yeah, these timers. The sand moves so much
Yeah,
slower.
you gotta feel it. Yeah, this is a 5-minute timer. It's
Yeah.
like
It's a lot-
incredible.
It's a lot of sand.
We're trying to both build our.
Still too early.
You gotta click.
Yeah, maybe,
That's good.
yeah, I think that's
Pretty good. That's a point. Let's say
yeah,
that's a point. Yes.
Referee has a point.
Nice. Nice.
Good job. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
you.
Thank you so much for that. Could you remind me of the name of the game?
Yeah, it's called 20 to 25 Easy Pieces.
20 to 25 easy pieces created in more or less 40 minutes by Moochi and Ty. Thank you.
They wanted to issue a challenge.
They
Oh,
want
yeah,
to issue,
yeah.
okay, Moochi
For
and
next
Ty want
week.
to issue a challenge
we
for the
wanna-
next
Do it
micro
over-
game
then
jam.
In 2 weeks, I think.
In 2 weeks.
In
yeah,
2 weeks,
yeah.
our
Yeah,
next
we'd-
micro game jam. What is your challenge?
Yeah, we'd like to call out D and Bo to come participate in the next micro game challenge.
Okay, Moochi and
See if
Ty
they can handle it.
are name dropping the next two students, D and Bo, to participate in the next micro game jam. That sounds incredible. Thank you so much for essentially play testing this segment. That's gonna wrap it up for Game Center Live. Thank you so much. I'm gonna cut to credits. Y'all can leave and go about your day. Thank you everybody for tuning in. This was an incredible time. Credits are on the screen. Too many names to list, but thank you all so much for coming. We'll be back same time next week on the same channel. Thanks again for tuning in. This was Game Center Live. Take care.